What's up, guys? Tim Little. Welcome back to Tactical Bassin. Today's video, we're talking fall topwater fishing. I have some tips and some tricks to help you guys put more fish in the boat during this transition period. It can be tough. We've talked about where these fish are going. We talked about that transitional phase. Sometimes they don't always want to bite. Today's video will help you catch more fish when they don't want to bite. Everybody talks about fall topwater fishing and how awesome it is, and it can be. Today's been a little frustrating. We got JD and Josiah out here fishing. Go ahead, you can keep fishing, bud. Let me backtrack a little bit. This time of the year, we've talked about it in previous videos. These big bass, they corral the bait fish, the big balls of bait, and they're blown up. They're very, very active. And it can be demoralizing. It can be super frustrating when you're out casting and these fish are blowing up all around you and you cannot buy a bite. So that's what I want to talk about today. We've done a lot of in-depth fall topwater fishing videos. We'll link some of them down below in the video description. Don't want to duplicate that stuff, but I just want to encourage you guys, as this transition, as we start going from the summer to that fall transition, it's not always going to be epic. Everybody at the tackle shop, everybody online, everybody's talking about fall topwater fishing, and it can be lights out, but it can also be very, very, very frustrating when you cannot buy a bite and the bass are grenading bait all around you. We're back in some of these cuts. You can see some of these ripples out here. You can see all the bait balls, and they're just getting destroyed by fish, and we're having a hard time. They're having a hard time staying motivated and staying focused and trying to catch fish. So I got a bunch of topwater baits out here. I want to show you guys, talk about a few different ones, some things to think about when you're out fishing this time of the year, because fall time, it can be lights out. But the transitional time can be very frustrating, like I said, trying to stay on the fish, especially when you're around the fish and they're eating, but they don't want to eat your bait. As we're into fall, these fish have seen a ton of topwaters, right? They've seen buzz baits, they've seen big wake baits, they've seen big whopper ploppers, bright colors, chartreuse, bone, all that stuff. My number one tip for you guys, whatever you are fishing, whatever type of bait you are fishing, go natural, and if you need to do so, scale down, throw something a little bit smaller. If all summer you guys have been catching them on the 125, go down to something smaller. All summer you've been catching them on a bright color, go with something natural, or go with something a little smaller that mimics like a baby bass, does a little bit of spit, and something's a little more subtle, a little more less intrusive, because these fish are wary. When they're keyed into this bait, sometimes these bass are so dialed into what they're eating, you could throw everything at them and they will not eat. So downsize and color, go natural. Since we're talking about topwater today, let's start off with, let's talk about a buzzbait. All summer long, we've been throwing big, loud double buzzers, right? Some with clackers, things that are just super loud and very, very, very aggressive. Go subtle. If you want to go with a double buzz, put a shad, a baitfish colored trailer on there. Take your clacker off. Do stuff like that to get less intrusive. These fish, they can afford to be picky, right? They have thousands, if not millions, of real baits around them right now. Why are they going to want to eat yours? We've done videos in the past where we've talked about just being a little different, right? Adding a blade to your swim bait, making it an underspin. Make your bait stand out just enough so they key in on it from the rest of the bait. I still want you to do that. Go natural. If you've been throwing a big wake bait, try throwing a little popper. Something that's going to be less intrusive, something that's going to get you through this tough transition time. Again, if these fish are super aggressive and they're eating the bait as you're firing out there and your bait's falling and they're coming out of the water and eating your bait, have at it. Throw the biggest, most aggressive, ugliest stuff, brightest stuff you can possibly throw. If they're eating it, don't change a thing. But if you are struggling to get a bite right now, you know, you're reading that all the forums, or you're listening to the dock talk, or the people at the tackle shop, and they're blitzing fish, they're catching them left and right, and you've went out and you've struggled. You're around fish, you know you're around fish, but you can't buy a bite. Stay focused, guys. All you need to do is downsize and go natural. These are two of my favorite baits to throw. When it gets tough and I still want to throw topwater because that's what they're eating on, that's what they're feeding on, especially these shallow fish. Even the deep fish, spotted bass, you reservoir fishermen, you guys know this time of the year, those spots will have that bait ball suspended, you know, pushed to the surface, but they're suspended 80, 90, 100 feet out over deep, deep water, right? So they're out there suspended just below the surface over 100 feet of water. It can be tough. Topwater is still the best way to catch them when they're, you know, blowing up, actively feeding on the surface. Go natural, like I said. So if you guys are throwing your walking baits, which I highly recommend, like I said, those topwater fish, those reservoir fish that are blowing up, fire out there, get in the mix as fast as you can, because that is how you're gonna best take advantage of the situation. You know, those fish are gonna turn off and on. They'll keep that fish, those bait fish corralled, but there's gonna be bite windows, and you want to be able to take advantage of those windows when those fish get aggressive. And a big walking bait, or I shouldn't say big walking bait, a traditional walking bait is great. You can cast it a long ways, but go natural. Talked about a popper, talked about the walking bait, talked about a buzzbait a little bit. If you need to, downsize your buzzbait. You know, get away from the double buzz, go with a single, real subtle buzzbait. This was actually made by Big Bite Baits. It's a 1/4 ounce. I actually took the toad off of it and I put a little swim bait on it. Again, you want to fish, you know, around these aggressive fish, but you need to be subtle, or you need to tone it down a little bit to get those bites on those tough days. Again, if they're blitzing it and they're eating stuff, you know, as gaudy and as bold and big and as loud, keep doing it. But today's video is about the tough days, because you know it's not always easy. And you know, trying to teach these guys, you're not always going to catch them. And when you have days like today, when there's bait all around you and those fish are blowing up all around you and you can't buy a bite, it makes it super frustrating. But you know, trying to stay motivated, I challenge you guys to stay motivated, take these tips, use these baits, and you guys will catch more fish. One other bait that I want to talk about real quick, and then we'll try and catch some more fish, is going to be a horny toad. You know, if you've been throwing a big buzz bait, or you've been throwing something very aggressive on the surface, try just throwing a super line hook on a horny toad. This is a Zoom horny toad, and this is the Big Bite Baits tour toad. This is a subtle, weedless buzzbait. You can fish it over grass, you can fish it over little isolated patches, but it is subtle. You know, these little tiny feet back here just do a little bit of disturbance, just enough to get those fish's attention. So if you guys haven't already, try throwing a horny toad or a tour toad in a natural color. Again, I cannot emphasize the natural stuff enough. You know, go with a matte shad or some kind of bream or bluegill color, because you know what? That is what these fish are keyed in on right now. They are keyed in on bait. But if I can, just challenge you guys to stay motivated. Keep casting, because we all have these days, and it's not always about fishing, right? It's not always about catching. It's just the fact that we're out here. We're not inside on the couch watching TV, doing homework, whatever it may be. But the next time you're out and you guys find yourself around actively feeding fish and you cannot buy a bite, downsize and go natural, and I think you guys will catch more fish. It will get easier, and it could be tomorrow. You know, it could just, as the nights get cooler, As the water temps get cooler, these fish are going to continue to feed up more and more, and the fall time is an epic topwater time. Just don't get discouraged if you're having one of those days where you cannot buy a bite and fish are all around you. As always, guys, we appreciate you. Hopefully this video was just a little bit of encouragement. You know, we all need it. It's not always about whacking them. Not everybody goes out and blasts them every single day. And just keep the right mindset, because it happens to me. It happens to Matt. You know, it happens to all of us. You're around fish. They won't eat what you're throwing. Don't be afraid to downsize. Don't be afraid to go natural, and I think you guys will catch more fish. Hopefully today's video was a little bit of motivation for you guys, especially if you've been out there struggling. If you guys have any questions, please leave those down below in the comment section. Like every video, I will link some of my favorite natural colored baits down below in the video description, and some different sized baits as well. If you guys like this video or learned something from it, please give us a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to our channel. We do 3 videos a week for you to help you guys catch more and bigger bass. As always, we appreciate you. Have a good one.